Testing. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin. Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah, my dear respected brothers and sisters, viewers, and we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for blessing. We are continuing our lesson in the Kitab Idah of Al-Imam Hasan Shurun Bulali in the Fiqh of Al-Imam Abu Hanifa. And today, inshallah, we will enter into a new chapter. In our last chapter, and we are speaking about certain rulings that are related to bathing. So the author mentioned about the sunnahs in bathing. So we have covered on that. So today, inshallah ta'ala, we will continue into the chapter of tayammum. So the author mentioned Babut Tayammum. So the first thing we want to understand is what is the meaning of tayammum. Tayammum in the Arabic language, it means al-qasd, niyyah, intention. This is what is meant in the Arabic language. That is why in the Quran Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned Fatayammamu sa'idan tayyiba. Fatayammamu sa'idan tayyiba. Yani fa in lam tajidu ma'an fatayammamu sa'idan tayyiba. What is the meaning? Yani if you do not find water, Allah said, then make this intention to find any water. So the word tayammum refers to intention. This is in the Arabic language. But the meaning in the Islamic term, as mentioned by the author himself in the commentary of Idah, which he mentioned, Mashul wajhi wal yadain an sa'idin mutahhir. Yani he mentioned that the meaning of tayammum in the Islamic term is Mashul wajhi wal yadain, yani wiping of the face and the hands an sa'idin mutahhir, with sa'id. Sa'id is the dust that comes from the soil. The dust that comes from the soil is called sa'id. It comes back into the root of sa'uda, something that rise. So to make tayammum, wiping of the face and the hands with the dust that comes out from the soil, and it is something that is pure. This is basically the definition of tayammum. So now when we will look at what the author mentioned in the conditions pertaining to tayammum. So he mentioned yasihu bi shurutin samaniyatin, and he says shurutu sihatihi. Shurutu siha meaning these are the conditions on the validity. In order for tayammum to be valid, he mentioned there must be shurut samaniyah. There must be 8 conditions. Number 1, an-niyyah, intention. So intention in tayammum in the Hanafi madhab is compulsory. Intention in tayammum in the Hanafi madhab is compulsory. Whereas intention in wudu and bathing is not compulsory, but it is a sunnah. So this is the thing that we mentioned when we speak about ablution before this, and also bathing, the obligatory bath. We say intention is a sunnah. If you make the intention, you will get the rewards of your action. But if you do not make the intention, you will not get the rewards, but your ibadah is valid. Your wudu is valid. Your bathing is valid if there is no intention. So intention in wudu and bathing is a sunnah. But when it comes into tayammum, it is wajib. It is wajib. So if a person does not intend in tayammum in the Hanafi madhab, the tayammum is not valid. And last time I believe I mentioned why in the Hanafi madhab intention in wudu is not compulsory, because they mentioned that wudu is not maqsuda. Because if you ask the question, for example, why do you take ablution? We take ablution because we want to perform the prayer. So the prayer is the objective. Whereas wudu, it is a means for us to perform that objective. So that is why in the Hanafi madhab, it is not wajib for intention yani when comes any to wudu. But tayammum yani is different. Tayammum is a situation anywhere we do not have the ability to take an ablution for certain reason. It can be the reason where there is no water. It can be the reason anywhere there is no ability for a person to take any ablution because any sickness and so on and so forth. So tayammum carries a different ruling than wudu. So we have to look for water. Then after that we do not have water. Then we have to use. Then we have to intend using any of the soil. That is why here we say intention becomes compulsory. طيب. And then he mentioned وَحَقِيقَتُهَا عَقْدُ الْقَلْبِ عَلَى الْفِعْلِ. He mentioned when it comes to niyyah, intention, it is what that occurs in the heart to perform a particular action. So meaning when you intend to perform a particular action, that is niyyah. That is niyyah. The intention that comes from the heart to do a particular action. So now when we are going to do tayammum, we are going to put our hands on the sa'id, on the dust for example. So we make the intention in our hearts. When is the time of the intention? He said وَوَقْتُهَا عِنْدَ ضَرْبِ يَدَيْهِ عَلَى مَا يَتَيَمَّمُ بِهِ. So it is compulsory that we intend when our hands touches the thing that we intend to do tayammum with. If there is a dust, then this is the dust that I intend to do tayammum. Later on he will explain about how we need to make this intention. But we read first what is mentioned by the author. So the author basically speaks about when the time of intention and what is the reality of intention and the type of the dust that is a person is using for tayammum. So now he mentioned وَشُرُوطُ صِحَةِ النِّيَّةِ ثَلَاثَةٍ. He goes on to speak about the conditions on the validity of niyyah, the intention. So there are three conditions on the validity of intention. Number one, al-Islam. Number two, is tamyiz. Number three is wal-ilmu bima yanwi bihi. So number one, al-Islam, meaning intention from a non-Muslim is not valid. It must be from a Muslim. Number two, a person must be mumayyiz. Mumayyiz is discretionary age, we mentioned, where a child has reached an age where he is able to differentiate between good and bad. So we say this is a mumayyiz. So normally is about 6-7 years old. And their ibadah is valid, even though they have not reached puberty. So this is condition number two for intention to be valid. Number three is to possess the knowledge on what is intended for. We are intending to perform the prayers. We know about the obligation of prayers. Or we are intending to perform tayammum. We know about the obligation of performing tayammum and so on and so forth. If a person does a particular action but he does not know anything about that particular action, then that kind of intention is not valid. وَيُشْتَرَطُ لِصِحَةِ النِّيَّةِ تَيَمُّمِ لِلصَّلَاةِ بِهِ أَحَدُ ثَلَاثَةِ أَشْيَاء. So now the author going to speak about how you make any intention for prayers. How you make any intention for prayers. So he said then one of three things, one of three ways. One of three ways to make the intention for tayammum. Number one, he say imma niyatu tahara. For example, a person he says nawaitu tayammum lit tahara. Nawaitu tayammum lit tahara. So this is the first situation. Niyatu tahara. So I make the intention for purification with this tayammum. This is valid. Number two, أو استباحة الصلاة. نويت استباحة فرض الصلاة لله تعالى. I make the intention to make prayers valid for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is called استباحة الصلاة. Number three, أو نية عبادة مقصودة ولا لا تصح بدون طهارة. Number three is to make an intention to perform an ibadah that is of the objective, maqsuda, not wasila. Earlier I mentioned certain forms of ibadah is wasila. Wasila, for example, wudu is wasila for prayers. Prayers is maqsuda, the purpose, the objective. Naam. La tasihu biduniha. And this particular ibadah can only be valid with purification. So this is any point number 3. He gave an example. He said, "Fala yusalli bihi idha nawat tayammuma faqat." And before that, I will give an example, sir. I will give an example. What is the meaning when the author mentioned niyatu ibadatin maqsudatin? A person makes the intention for ibadah that is maqsuda. For example, prayers. Prayers is maqsuda. Prayers is maqsuda. For example, you want to perform the Asr prayers. So we say, nawaitu tayammumi lis-salah. Nawaitu tayammum lis-salah. This is valid because this is ibadah maqsuda. But if I, if I make any intention, for example, if I do not have any wudu, and I say, nawaitu tayammum liqira'atil Qur'an. Nawaitu tayammum liqira'atil Qur'an. Now we ask the question. If a person does not have ablution, can he recite the Quran? The answer is yes. So if you do not have any ablution and you do tayammum and you make the intention of tayammum with the recitation of the Quran, this is not valid. Why? Because this is not maqsuda. You do not have any ablution. You are in a state and a hadath. You can recite the Quran. So the tayammum does not have any effect. This kind of intention does not have any effect because now it becomes ghayru maqsuda. But unless if a person is junub, if a person is in a state of janaba and he said nawaitu tayammum li qira'atil Quran, then it's valid. Why? Because junub cannot recite the Quran. Junub cannot recite the Quran. So by making any intention of tayammum to recite the Quran while in a state of junub, this is permissible. That is why the author mentioned la tasihu biduni taharatin. So the ibadah must be a type of ibadah la tasihu biduni tahara. If you do not have purification, it is not valid. So that is why I gave the example of recitation of the Quran, which the author also will give the example. So we will see what the author mentioned. He said, "Fala yusalli bihi idha nawat tayammuma faqat." And if a person say nawaitu tayammum lillah, it is not permissible for him to perform the prayers because he does not specify. He does not specify. Fala yusalli bihi. It is not permissible for him to perform any prayers with the tayammum if he intend nawaitu tayammuma lillahi ta'ala. Aw nawahu li qira'atil Quran wa lam yakun junuban. This is exactly the example I gave earlier. He make the intention of tayammum li qira'atil Quran and he is not in a state of junub. For example, he say nawaitu tayammum li qira'atil Quran, but he is a muhdith. He doesn't have wudu, but not in a state of junub. So now in this situation, we say the tayammum is not valid. But if he is in a state of junub and he say nawaitu tayammuma li qira'atil Quran, then only it is valid. Because why? Because the recitation of the Quran, it is compulsory that a person not in a state of junub. Wasani, number 2, he said al-uzgul mubih lit tayammum. Now the author is going to speak about the reason why we can do tayammum. So number 1, he said kabu'dihi milan. A person, for example, he doesn't have water. And 1 mile away. It is about 1.8 kilometers. 1 mile is about 1.8 kilometers. For example, if we are in a place, for example, there is no water. But we know above 1.8 kilometers there is water. So now it is permissible for me, I need to do tayammum. 1.8 is considered to be far. But if anything that is lesser than 1.8, it is compulsory upon us to get that water. Walau fil Misr, even though it is in a countryside, in a town. Even though it is in a town and there is no water present, but it is more than 1.8, then we can perform any tayammum. So whether we are in the desert or we are in a city or town. Number 2, wamaradin, the reason that we can do any tayammum is when a person is afflicted with a sickness. For example, the doctor tells him that you cannot use water because your skin will break. or a person, and for example, and he has bandage, and because any of an incident, it is not now, and it's not he cannot any use any water, then any he can use any tayammum. So sickness, and it can be sickness when comes into the skin, sickness, any other sickness also. If any he cannot any use any water, where it can lead any to death, or it can lead any to serious any disease or other things, then it is permissible any for him to do tayammum. Number 3, he say wa bardin yakhafu minhu talaf aw al marad kharij al misr. Number 3, and if a person and he is in a place where it is extremely cold, there is no heater, and he knows any that if he takes any water, it will be harmful any to him. He is afraid any that it can lead any to his death, or it can lead any to serious any diseases. Aw al marad kharij al misr, and he is outside any of the city any, or outside any of the town. Now, why any the author any mentioned outside any of the town, inside of the town? What is the difference? The difference any is that if you are in a town or in a city, usually any they are what you call it, way out any in the situation and that you are in. But if you are in the desert, and it is totally different situation. If you are in the jungle, and for example, it is totally a different situation. So whenever a person does not have the ability to use any water, then it is permissible any for him to use the dust any for tayammum. Wallahu a'lam bis-shawab. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. We'll continue next week inshallah.